Hi, I'm Al. Welcome back to another video. Today we're in Allentown, New Jersey, working on an old house with a pretty rough trough. This had half-inch plywood and torch down with tin and ugly barn board hiding underneath of it. After peeling all that back, we found this, a mild rebuild of the soffit Home Depot or big box trim. You notice the carpenter that did the work used a lot of brad nails, which is nice for molding, but this is structural. I don't care how big the brad nail, you got to have some screws. And this was the failure point in the system. You could see the gussets or brackets that they used, they collapsed from the weight and load. This is a pretty big trough. It measured about 16, 17 inches deep from crown mold to the end. When you have a gutter like this, the crown mold is part of the structure. You have to tie that all in. So I got to reuse most of it. I re-secured it with 2 and 3-inch fasteners. Right now I'm using my atomic reciprocating saw to square up a cut because this is 1-inch thick rough cut barn board to fill in just like it would have been. Then after that, I'm going to smoothen the deck out with 3/8-inch plywood so that I have something to stick to. We're using a self-adhered base and cap sheet. There's the atomic saw that we're using on the job. We ran the base sheet up the roof and all the way out even with the edge of the crown molding. We took our lap board and we captured it to the base sheet using 2-inch screws, deck screws. Then we put our drip edge on it, and the base sheet is your foundation. You have to make sure you have nice secured base sheet for your cap sheet to grab to. So I always heat it up with a MAP gas or a heat gun. Roller it, make sure my edges are good and tight. You only have one shot to do this. If there's any ripples or imperfections in it, it will radiate or resonate through it. I'm not too concerned about the part going up the roof pitch. Most of that's going to get covered by shingles, so that doesn't concern me. But you'll notice the trough is pretty flat. So I make sure I get the top nice and smooth. I heat up this transition point right here. It doesn't take a lot of heat. It's about 35 degrees today. So I go in there, smoothing it out with my hands. As you notice, the flange that's going on the roof deck, by the time I'm done, it's so tight in that transition, there's no ripples in there. I use a neoprene roller. It's got a smooth metal end stop, so I don't have to worry about rubbing the edge and roughing things up too much. I heat up the outer edge and roller it again. Repeat the process. I don't like using too long of a piece on the field. In the gutter, the bigger the better. You know, I could get away with a nice long piece. But when I'm doing these edges, at least on the base sheet, I wish I could do this with the cap sheet or the finished product, but it doesn't adhere to itself, being granule. Also, the back paper that covers the sticky paper, it flies around. It could get in a neighbor's house 3 doors down. I just temporarily shove them in my pocket. We use 3-inch deck screws to secure everything. Then the plywood got 2-inch screws into the barn board to smoothen everything out. We use 2-inch screws from the crown molding into the barn board on a 45-degree angle. Then we cap the crown molding with basically a 3/4 by 3-inch lap board you get at Home Depot, and that keeps the water inside the gutter. If there's enough of water or snow, I'd rather it go over the edge than be stuck in the gutter. You notice the material on the right going up the roof. It goes up, that actually, I believe it's about 40 inches, the material. So it goes up there pretty high. We're in the Northeast. We get a lot of snow. As far as ice damming, this gutter will never have a problem with that. The water would rather go least path of resistance. It would want to dump over the edge before it ever goes back in the house. This base sheet, I treat it like it's an individual roof. But if I have a hard ripple or an imperfection, I also remember that it's not the roof. I could cut it, slit it, torch it down, get it nice and stuck. It's only there to attach the cap sheet or the finished product to. So it's just, you never know. It could rain every day. I know it looks pretty nice behind me right now, but a couple hours after this video, it looked pretty rough. The sky started getting nasty looking, so I try to keep it as watertight as possible. Here coming up some photos of the final product. I think it turned out pretty nice. This house had a 10-foot addition on it on the right hand side. So there you have